Welcome to Smashterpieces, a casual walk through the history of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster. My name is Joe.
And my name is Melanie.
And we're not going to do any more of the intro because this is not that.
It kind of, a little bit, I mean, you know, it's something.
I mean, most things are something.
Not
all
this podcast
things, to be
anymore.
fair. Not this. This podcast is not that thing. It's a different thing. Welcome.
You know.
It's, if you're hearing this, it's 2025. It's not 2025 for us yet. It'll be 2025.
Oh, it's close. It's we cut it real close.
About 5 hours for you and about 6 hours for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
We were gonna record this before Christmas because we keep believing we can do that.
the hope, my hope was that we'd be able to get this out till New Year's, and then that didn't happen.
We have literally never successfully recorded this before Christmas, even though we say we're gonna, every single time.
Every single year.
Mm-hmm.
It goes the same. So this is going to be a bit of a different wrap-up episode thing, mostly because, we only played 3 games this year.
And no bonus episodes.
We got through the second half of Thousand Year Door. We got through...
We didn't even do an April Fool's episode.
We didn't even do an April Fool's episode. We got through Prime 2. We got through Star Fox Assault, and 1 part into Path of Radiance. Not a lot of meat on that bone.
I would love to pick up my own personal pace next year.
I very much want to try and pick up my pace.
Yeah.
I haven't played Path of Radiance since after recording.
Every minute of Path of Radiance I've played has been on stream. So, and because
I need to get back to it.
I have not streamed in 1 calendar month since Mario Party. So, yay. I miss streaming though. I do miss doing it more regularly, and I'm hopefully now I can kind of get back into the groove a little bit now that the really rough part of the year at work is done. Because this is also the year that I started to gain confidence in myself and feel good about myself, and I need to make that everyone else's problem. So.
That is generally the way that you should live life, by making things other people's problem.
I'm going to, yeah.
For fun.
I also, had kind of struggled emotionally to move on, accept the fact that, I'm the only one using that Twitch channel anymore. Which, I miss it being a collaborative thing, but, I also just, it's, an important social space for me, I guess, because I don't really get out very often, so, but I hope to pick up to get back into, streaming Fire Emblem, streaming things that aren't Mario Party. I don't know if Kingdom Hearts is going to keep going, but It'll
keep going eventually. I do plan to see that to the end. I just don't know when we're going to pick it back up.
Yeah, but I enjoy and miss streaming, so I'm sure gonna try to get back to doing it more myself. But there's all that other stuff.
And the other thing that we usually do on these episodes is we talk about the next 10 games, because there was a time when we used to get through 10 games a year. Sure, those games were 2 hours long,
but that was also never a time that overlapped with us doing end of year wrap-ups.
Yeah, it sure wasn't. But we've talked about the next 10 games multiple years now. Not all of them, but most of them.
We finally got to Path of Radiance.
We didn't finish it, but we finally got there.
We got there.
That's every day a step towards progress.
Path of Radiance has been part of the year-end wrap-ups for as long as I have been living in this house.
Yep, it sure has.
For as long as Mario Party Monthly has existed.
So we're actually going to do something completely different, which we stole from another podcast. Would you like to explain what we blatantly stole from more successful YouTubers than us.
Yeah,
we're not YouTubers, but more successful content creators than us.
So since it is such a blatant ripoff, we should give credit. This is from the Versus Wolves podcast with Wooly Versus and Super Eye Patch Wolf. And it is what they kicked the podcast off with, and then they did it again this year, is their best collection of their top 10 experiences of the year. And they use the word experiences very intentionally. Because we're not just going to tell you like our top 10 games of the year. We're not going to tell you like our top 10 movies of the year. It's going to be the top 10 things that we did this year. And we didn't set the hard rule that it has to be something from 2024. But we did say it's like, it should be something recent. Like, it's not like, I watched the anime Vinland Saga, for example. That's like 5 years old. We're not going to talk about that because like, that's not like recent enough that it's reasonable. Maybe you haven't even heard of it. It's like all of my stuff is like either this from 2024 or 2023, and it's all stuff that I personally did in 2024. So,
I think one of my things might be from when did this end? I'll figure it out later. I don't think it's from this year, but it is something that I experienced this year. But it's from the 2020s at least. Mm-hmm. Started in 2021. I don't know when it ended. But we'll get to that.
So we've got our top 10 things, as well as some honorable mentions. I don't know when you want to do the honorable mentions. Should we do those up front?
They do them up front because there's a chance that I think I have one thing that might be on yours, but I don't think it will be. But there's a possibility.
My honorable mentions are in alphabetical order because honorable mentions, I'm not going to rank them. Alphabetical order. And
mine
I have
are just
10.
in the order that they came to mind.
I have
so
10
not
of
ranked
them.
Either.
Should we like ping pong back and forth?
Sure.
So I have more, so I guess I'll start. My first one is a television show. It is The Acolyte, the Star Wars show from Disney Plus. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, I heard that was bad. And you should think about, like, why did you hear that was bad?
I did not hear that was bad.
But did you?
Go on.
Well, it was widely considered to be bad because it starred women and people of color, queer people, that kind of stuff.
I don't know if widely is what I would say on that one. Just loudly.
A little bit. Am I here to tell you that it's, like, incredible? Not necessarily. I think it's good. And I think it's some good Star Wars, which we haven't gotten in a while. Like, we got Andor a couple of years ago, and, like, that was incredible. But this is, like, Star Wars, and it's really good, and has the best lightsaber fights in the franchise. And I will die on that hill.
Interesting.
So
yeah, I've heard it's pretty good from a couple people that I follow on the Blue Sky.
I liked it. So
my first one is Archipelago Randomizers.
Hell yeah!
I got pretty into trying to get them to work this year, and they let me play some games that I hadn't played in a while, like Sly 1. I got to set up, and it works, which is pretty cool. It's still an alpha, so there was a chance it wouldn't, but it works.
And that happens.
And Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus is probably, thinking on it, it might be the only game on this earth that I've beaten more times than I've beaten Kingdom Hearts 2, because I can finish that game in like 3 hours. Less than that, even. My roommate and I once did a race through the first Sly Cooper game, and it was neck and neck for 2.5 hours. Like, he beat me by approximately 10 seconds, maybe.
Jesus. Okay.
We are both very into that game. Ender Lilies, very fun with it. Mario 64, surprisingly. Kingdom Hearts 2, I've talked on other shows about randomizers for that. But, like, just generally, this is the first year that we did, like, a big async with our friend group. We did 2. And they're pretty fun. And also, while sometimes frustrating, getting these games to work is satisfying at the very least. So.
I've been beating the Archipelago drum for too long for me to realistically put it on my 2024 list, but like I love it. I'm so happy that you enjoyed it that much. Like I'm gonna keep trying to do them, and like I keep wanting to do like synchronous ones, so where it's like, you know, we're all together doing them at the same time. I feel like I could get people together for a stream. That would be really fun experience and stuff. Like I love Archipelago. It's so good.
And it's such a cool concept too. I guess I should, as a quick explanation, it's a randomizer, but between different games.
Right. Yeah. It's a multi-world randomizer, and it's more of a framework so that you can send them between games that has nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really neat.
I love it. My next honorable mention, a video game, Animal Well. The first game published by Donkey. And turns out he did a pretty okay job. It is a Metroidvania with zero combat whatsoever, which is already something that I find very interesting because it is a genre that is so heavily steeped in combat. And it also goes for that really thinky game kind of exploration where there's layers to it, where it's like pretty much everyone's probably going to be able to just get to the regular ending. And then once you've done that, there's deeper puzzles that require more thought. And then past that, there's even more like fucked up puzzles that like it's going to take you forever to solve if you're doing them alone. You probably need to work with other people, that kind of thing. So if you like Metroidvania, if you like games that make you actually think about what you're doing, Animal Well is a pretty solid debut for Donkey as a publisher, and obviously credit to the developer as well. So debut for the developer too, honestly. So what a game.
Yeah, I played like 2-3 hours of Animal Well, and unfortunately I had to just come to the conclusion that it's not for me. Mm-hmm. But I do believe people when they say it is extremely cool and good. I just couldn't. Something about the way that it does puzzles, I just did not have the patience for it, I guess.
Yeah. A couple of people that I tried to get to play it didn't really dig it, but I think it's pretty good. And I see people start talking about it like it's something special, so.
Here's a game that came out the same day as Animal Well, I'm pretty sure. In fact, two of the things on my honorable mentions came out the same day.
Okay.
The first one being 1000 Resist.
Okay. Okay, so I'm glad you, like me, pronounced that game wrong.
Seren had to tell me how to pronounce it.
Oh, wait, is it actually 1000 Resist?
Yeah, it's 1000
Holy
Resist.
shit, really?
According to Seren, at least.
That's wild. I just went, like Spy Family, Hunter, and then I was like, no, that's probably not how it's pronounced. But actually, that's wild. That's wild.
Yep, the X is silent. But I did not fall in love with this game as much as the rest of the internet seemed to have. I like it. I like it a lot. It's very good. Its narrative is very, very good. Its writing is good. It might have some pacing issues, I think, but
a lot of people have told me that like I specifically need to play it.
I'm not sure why you specifically. I might just be missing.
I've seen it compared to Nier Automata.
I guess I can't confirm that one way or another because I haven't played Nier Automata. On the resolution list for the 9th time.
It's only been out 7 years.
But it's a really interesting science fiction story about clones and post-apocalypse and just all sorts of stuff. It's very, very it's interesting. I enjoyed it. I've seen a lot of people like call it a masterpiece, and hey, I'm not going to tell them they're wrong. It just didn't hit that hard with me.
Yeah,
is the thing.
My next honorable mention is a movie. It is The Beekeeper. Joe, are you familiar with The Beekeeper?
I remember seeing ads for The Beekeeper.
It is a Jason Statham action movie. and it is fucking absurd. Like, there's some fucking lore in this movie, and it just goes all in. This movie contains the line of dialogue, after assessing the situation, the beekeepers have decided to stay neutral, and that's everything to me. This is such a fun movie. I love it, and I think it's like it's what made me go like, oh, Jason Statham kind of rules. So I would like, it's so fun. It's such a fun movie.
Now you understand why, when watching Hobbs and Shaw, my first response was, how is this bad, though? How did you make this bad? I don't get it. How did you do that?
By putting The Rock in it.
That's probably part of it. My next one involves a series that actually came back in 2024 after being absent for a very long time. There's a writer on the internet by the name of John Boas. He is a sports writer by trade, which I know what you're thinking. Joe, everything about your stature, constitution, and general overall demeanor makes me think you would shatter into 1,000 pieces if you even made contact with a football. And yes, you are correct. But John Boas does a series called Pretty Good, which, as the name would suggest, or as the tagline for the series says, it's a show about stories that are pretty good. And it's been, sometimes they're sports, such as the video about the St. Louis Olympic Marathon that almost killed multiple people. And sometimes they're not about sports, such as the video about a man who did Up in real life.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Or a video about how Jack Bauer is the most miserable man on the face of the planet in the 24 world and isn't allowed to be happy. John Boas is just such a good writer. And even the sports ones, like if you have no interest in sports like me, he finds a way to make even those really entertaining. And it came back this year thanks to them starting a Patreon for their site Secret Base. He's done a few episodes that have come out off of Patreon. He started with a 3-part series on the American Reform Party, which is the first third party to almost matter. He did a video on... Right now he's doing a 2-parter on a football player that has yet to grab me, but I'm willing to give it a shot still. But he did a video on all of the recorded instances of somebody slipping on a banana peel in real life in North America. Or not in North America, in the contiguous United States specifically. That video is amazing. He also did an entire video about one character in the film Independence Day, which is also very fun. So
Pretty Good rules.
He is one of the funniest people on the internet. He's one of the most entertaining people on the internet. And I definitely highly recommend people look up Pretty Good, both the old stuff and the new stuff, if that interests you at all.
I have not seen any of the new stuff, but I think about Dumbest Boy Alive every day.
That's the one. So if you're looking for a good, like, indicator of what John Boas is like, his video, Dumbest Boy Alive, that's the intro.
First one.
That's the intro you want to go for.
Okay, so my next one is a video game, and a big part of the reason that it's in honorable mentions is because I just started playing it. Honestly, I feel like if I had started this earlier and put more time into this, it might be in the top 10. It is Dragon Age Veilguard. I have never played a Dragon Age before this, but I did play Mass Effect, which BioWare. So I'm getting a lot of the same gameplay vibes from it, and I am really into it, I think. The only downside is that I kind of hated the mage class that I started playing as, so I'm kind of restarting my entire fucking save file so that I don't have to play as the mage. But it's there's something about the way that it kind of does feel, it gives me the same feelings as Mass Effect did back in the day, but it doesn't feel like it's being held back by those conventions. It kind of feels like it's like willing to throw away things that it didn't need and like introduce some new ideas, and I'm having a good time with it. I'm having a really good time with it. So I feel like it would be higher if I had played more of it.
I'm actually quite happy to have heard like from multiple people that game is good.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because like people thought BioWare was fucking done after Anthem.
Yeah. They had a hell of a bad run there for a little bit.
So to
shout out to the 3Bs.
Yeah, to hear that game is good. I good for BioWare at the very least. Good.
They needed to win.
My next thing is a game. In fact, the next three things I have are games. And that is Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which is a game that was released by Simogo this year. They were the developers behind Sayonara Wild Hearts, which obviously, if people have listened to any podcast I have recorded since Sayonara Wild Hearts came out, you know that I really, really, really like that game. I don't think it's quite as good as Sayonara Wild Hearts, but it's also a completely different kind of game. It is a walk around a house and solve these fucking puzzles game. And it does really well. Its puzzles made me feel like a stupid idiot baby a lot of the time. Maybe because some of them require math, and I don't get along with math at all. But yeah, and I've also heard that is a really fun game to play, like, co-op, quote unquote. Like with somebody or multiple people sitting next to you and everybody like putting their heads together to try and solve the puzzles. I've heard it's very fun to play that way. I didn't do that. I did it in the dark in bed on a Steam Deck. So Seren
described this to me as a game for like puzzle freaks, like people who are really into puzzle games, like really into puzzle games. And like, you know, like her thing as like, you know, someone who works in the game industry as a producer in the game industry is she primarily works on puzzle games. So it's like she described as being like for people like her who are deep into it.
And it also aesthetically super strong. It's got the whole like black and white aesthetic with every color being just grayscale except for the color red, which always looks cool. A lot of things do that and it always looks cool, but it does, in my opinion, like have a very Hitchcock feeling to it in a lot of ways. So it is an interesting game that I very much liked. And its credit song Radio Waves is probably one of my favorite songs from a game this year.
All right, my next one is a YouTube video. Joe, how much overlap would you say there is between the video game industry and the military-industrial complex?
A lot.
A lot. There's a lot.
There's a lot of it, yeah.
I learned all that from the People Make Games video, The Games Behind Your Government's Next War. One of what I would say is the more important videos in video game talking spaces this year of like, hey, the game industry is deeply involved in the war machine. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it sure is a thing. And it's a thing that like we kind of all need to think about and maybe decide how we feel about, because it's not like it's not going to go away anytime soon. So it's an incredibly informative video. It was about an hour long, a little over that. And it goes over like the history of wargaming, how modern wargaming is directly involved with commercial video games that you have probably heard of, maybe even played, and how like mainstream video game developers are involved in facilitating war games with the military. And little harrowing, little terrifying, but I would say an important watch, as is most things that People Make Games talks about. Honestly, I think they're a great YouTube channel that I would highly recommend. And this Like, this one is probably the highlight of the year from them.
Yeah, they're an extremely good channel. I remember their Roblox exploitation thing, which then it turns out that that's not the only exploitation going on in Roblox. The internet's a nightmarescape. Woo! Oh boy. Anyways, the next thing I have, speaking of the unspeakable horrors of the world, is the third game that came out the same day as Animal Well and Thousand Resist. And I remember this because in our Steam group, you bought Animal Well. Our friend DQP bought this one, and I bought Thousand Resist, being Crow Country. Crow Country is a horror game that uses a PS1 aesthetic. It is essentially, what if Resident Evil looked like Final Fantasy VII?
Very your shit.
Extremely my shit. It is very, very good. It has a really, really good story. Like, its ending reveal, like, does a really good job of just tying everything together in a way that makes you go, oh shit. I see. My only problem with it is aiming. Your gun feels a little wonky, but none of the enemies pose a fast threat. They just pose a threat, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the wonky aiming is not typically a deal breaker. It's just something I personally found kind of annoying. But yeah, Crow Country is very good, and I definitely highly recommend it to people who like horror stuff. It's fun. I had a great time.
I can't say it's my shit, but I've heard incredible things about it. All right, next up. Joe, did you know that Harmonix made a new rock band?
No.
It's
I didn't actually.
Yeah, like they manufactured like new guitar controllers for it. It makes use of the drop mix technology. It's a free to play game where it has like a rotation of like free songs you can do every day, and then like you buy individual songs if you just want to be able to play them at any time. And they've had like major collaborations with like Lady Gaga, Billie Eilish, Metallica, Snoop Dogg, and like the only thing it doesn't have is like literally the rock band branding, but it's just full on rock band. It's called Fortnite Festival.
Never mind, I did hear about this.
I have been playing a lot of it because like it is just rock band. It is just a new rock band. It's like exactly, if you said to me the only thing it doesn't have is like local play, which is so fucked up. It's so fucked up that it doesn't have local play. But in every other way, it has everything you would expect to be in a new rock band game. It is, and it's made by Harmonix. It is just rock band. And
man,
it's
they really do just buy people to just say, put your thing in Fortnite.
Yeah, and it is contained within Fortnite.exe. But I've been playing a ton of it because it's just rock band.
Hey, what like the fuck is Fortnite?
I don't know, but...
Do they know?
No. I'm having such a good time with it. Like, and it's compatible with like the old rock band controllers too. So if you have one that like you can just like, if you have like a wireless PlayStation one, if you have like the Xbox One and you for some reason own an Xbox Series X, or if you have one that you can plug into your PC, they'll all work. So it's like, if you're really into Guitar Hero or Rock Band, like honestly, Fortnite Festival is kind of something you would be into. And there's rumors that the next big collaboration is going to be Hatsune Miku.
I'm shocked that has not happened before this.
And when I say rumors, I mean, like, they've already started teasing it in-game. Like, you can find, like, backpacks with anime shaders that have leaks in them.
This feels late for that. Like, Miku feels like one of the first things. Like, sure, Goku. Yeah. Goku, one of the first things, too. Yes, but, like, Miku feels like step 2.
Well, I mean, they've only had like the Fortnite Festival is only a year old, so and God, they're still trying to figure out how to make drop mix into a game. They haven't figured it out yet, but by God, are they trying?
It's such cool technology. God knows what to do with it.
Yeah, the way that they use drop mix is that any song that you have purchased, you basically have the drop mix pieces for. And during Battle Royale, you can play it as an emote.
Damn.
They're trying so hard to make drop mix ever work. It's so funny.
My last thing is a live service game that I've been playing for about a little over a year now, being Blue Archive. Just the two specific things that happened this year in it. The first being there's a boss raid that they introduced called Gregorius, who's fucking rad because he is a big ghost with a conductor's baton.
Okay, let me interject here. What is Blue Archive? Like, I hear you talk about Blue Archive, but like, what is it?
So Blue Archive is a gacha game, unfortunately. Well, I'll get more into gacha with one of the things on my 10. And about how it is terrible and should be regulated out of existence. But that is neither here nor there. It is a gacha game where you play as a teacher in a city that is essentially run by multiple different high schools. Like, they're the government. The schools are the government. Student councils are the fucking government. Which is a stupid concept, and yet parts of the story are like shockingly fucking well done and genuinely emotional. And one of the, there's a preview that they released for like the finale chapter of part 1 of their story. And watching that was like this moment of, fuck, I'm emotionally attached to all of these characters. Shit. Which is not super ideal for a gacha game, but it also gives so much free shit. Like, I give them some money. I give them like $9 a month, and I kind of just treat it like a sub. But even if I didn't do that, they give away so much free premium currency all the time. I'd say I don't know how this game makes money, but I've seen a post from a guy say that he's spent like $10 million on it, which fuck.
Christ.
Yeah, that's too much. That's too much. Actually, it might have been like 100,000. It might have more been like 300,000, but that's still way too much.
That's more believable.
It's way too much. But yeah, so you play as basically the player character who is just referred to as Sensei. The vibe that I get is that they are not the main character, and they do not want to be the main character. They are a facilitator and a mentor to help the actual main character, which are the students, get their story and get on the path they should be on.
That's the protagonist of any gacha game, pretty much.
Kinda, but this one feels... First of all, while they kind of started with Sensei being a blank slate, they have since moved into like, no, this character has like a canon personality and a canon set of ideals, and like they are their own thing. They don't have a canon gender or appearance or any of that,
because it's
new. They have a personality that is set. So yeah, they do boss raids that rotate like every month, which are just basically skill checks. One they added this year was a boss named Gregorius, big ghost, conductor's baton. He's got a ghost playing an organ behind him, and he summons choirs to attack you. And his music is fucking rad, which I'm going to play a sample right here. Bosses in Blue Archive run on a timer. You have 4 minutes to beat it. And when it gets to like, I think 30 seconds left, he has his own built-in finale where the song changes and starts getting more frantic. And then when the timer hits 0, it has one like slam on a single note on the piano, and he wipes out your entire party.
I do really like when video game songs are like synced up to shit like that. That's really good.
Like does 999% of the character's HP as damage.
That kind of rules.
It's fucking rad. It's so cool. But the other is they released Volume 5 of their story, which focuses on Hyakyako, which is the Japanese themed school. All the schools have their own aesthetic. It is has a lot of themes of like insecurities and having other people's expectations sort of forced on you. And does one thing that I super respect, which is every story has a moment where like the hero steps up and they face their fears and they get it done. And this one has that, but she looks like absolute shit while she does it because she is clearly terrified. She's like sobbing. Her eyes are puffy. Her nose is running. Like she looks terrible.
Good.
And it makes it feel,
it should be.
It makes it feel extremely like believable and likable. And I don't know, man, I just really, really like this game, but because I started playing it in September, I figured it didn't belong to 10.
Mm-hmm. I'll go down the rest of my 10 real quick.
I have one more after this.
Oh, okay. I'll still try to keep it brief. My next one's a video game. Came in like right at the end of the year. We got Marvel Rivals. Do you remember Overwatch? I remember Overwatch. I miss how Overwatch felt at the beginning.
For like the first month?
Yeah. Yeah. And Marvel Rivals, I'm sure will inevitably go to shit in exactly the same way, but it hasn't yet. And oh my god, it's just Overwatch. It's just Overwatch. But now
they ripped off Widowmaker with this character that existed in the 60s.
Okay, so like he definitely like the Blizzard guy that said that definitely deserved to be memed on, but also she plays exactly like Widowmaker. Exactly like Widowmaker. Like, do you associate Black Widow with a sniper rifle?
It depends. Not because super.
That's her main thing.
Interesting. That's really
it's just
funny.
Overwatch. Did you like Overwatch year one? Then you'll like Marvel Rivals, and Marvel Rivals is free. So it has Iron Man, it has Captain America, it has Venom, it has Luna Snow. You know Luna Snow. She's your favorite, right?
It has Jeff.
It has Jeff. Jeff is so good. Jeff is. So yeah, Marvel Rivals, pretty good.
I have one more.
I have 3 more. So maybe should I double up on one and then you do one and then I'll do my last 2?
Yeah, actually that makes sense.
Okay.
Go for it.
Next up, all mine are video games from here on. We got Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Probably the best Star Wars video game. Probably the best one. It's Fallen Order was really good, and they did the Banjo-Tooie thing, like the one good thing Banjo-Tooie did, where you keep all of your abilities from the first game, you do not lose a single one, and they add on to them. And it rules. It's such a good fucking video game. And just like the first one, it is a technical disaster. Oh my god, it runs like shit on everything. But it is such a good video game.
One day I will play. I'm pretty sure I own Fallen Order on like 2 different services. And I have not played it. One day.
Maybe it runs well now.
Probably
Maybe.
Not. My last thing is something that also came in, not really at the tail end of the year, but it's only been around for, like 2 months? Being the Nintendo Music app. They got all my letters.
Really?
They got all my
you
fucking
like it that
letters.
Much?
I like it enough to put it on. So here's the thing. For years, every time Nintendo does the mass pull downs of all the music channels, the response, and I think justifiably, is always, okay, then fucking release them yourselves then. And look, they did it. They did that. I think the library is a bit too scant still.
I will say that they are releasing new stuff at a much faster rate than I expected them to.
Same.
So,
it's been one a week. This week is the first week they have not released one, and I assume that's because of the holiday.
Yeah. That's a way better track record than NSO has. So,
by God, is it? And I would hope so. I feel like adding music to this app should be easier than like bringing video games into the emulator and making sure they work to the extent that they make sure they work.
Is there anything on here that's never had an official soundtrack release before?
A lot of things, actually.
Really?
I even went through and looked. Brain Age has never gotten one, save with Nintendogs. Neither of the original versions of Metroid have ever gotten one.
I'm betting the Wii channels haven't either.
The Wii channels definitely have not.
I'm so happy to have the Everybody Votes channel music released officially.
It's so much fun. Wii Sports was never released officially. I don't think Blazing Blade was, as far as I can tell.
The Blazing Blade, like every time they ever release any GBA music on anything, it does the same problem where it's like, please just give me higher bitrate samples. Please don't give me the shit that you had to compress down to fit on the cartridge. Please give me better samples. Yeah,
they've had quite, and some of these are also like, I think Pikmin 4, this is its official release. It didn't get one before this. So this is the one. Same with Mario Wonder, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's just really neat. The app has problems, not the least of which is, where are the fucking composer credits? Jesus Christ. You can't see who composed any of the tracks. They're all just listed as being by Nintendo.
I'm sure that legally that's because Nintendo composed them. Legally.
I guess. I mean,
I know
Sega's
getting sued over Live and Learn. So
I know that they know how to do composer credits because they do liner notes in their official physical releases all the fucking time. You can find them all on VGMDB. So I know they know how to do it.
And that's probably a contract thing with regards to the physical release. But I have one big problem with this app. And everything else, honestly, fine. Like they can do, like, I don't have a problem with them making it locked behind an NSL subscription. I don't mind them being like, oh, you have to do it here. You can't like make it sync up with your Spotify. Like I'm fine with all that. I don't give a shit. I want it on my computer. I don't want it on my phone. I want it on my computer.
I think I would agree with that. A desktop version would be very nice.
I would use it so much more if I could. But like, I don't listen to music outside of my house that much. I listen to podcasts outside of my house. So if it's stuck on my phone, I'm never going to fucking use it.
Oh, I listen to music at work like 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I've been slowly working my way through listening to everything on the app.
Like everything.
Oh, everything.
Oh my God.
I'm like 50% through the 12-hour Animal Crossing New Horizons soundtrack currently.
Do you really need to like get all of like the rainy day versions and all that too?
Yeah, they're nice. They're nice.
Yeah,
they're
okay.
Fun.
Sure.
And they don't come back to back, which helps. Sure. The way it's structured is they have all the normal versions for the hour songs.
Why does this app not do a thing where it just automatically plays whichever hour version it is on your like, why does it not do that?
That would be neat. Just a piece of criticism I have about one of the albums that's on there. The Brain Age loops do not need to be that long. Brain Age's music is like comprised of like 30-second loops that are stretched to 5 minutes.
Love that.
There is one that is at most an 8-second loop that is 6 minutes long, and it's the only one I have skipped.
Good.
It's bizarre.
I love how like with the thing where you can like extend the songs to be like an hour long. That's such an understanding of their audience. Like,
yeah, that is some, they did their fucking homework. They know what people want. And you can't do that with every track. If there's any type of dynamic anything in the track, you cannot extend it.
Which makes sense, I think.
So, yeah. So, like, the Pokemon soundtrack, which I'm still kind of shocked is there in the first place. You can't extend those songs. The Bowser fight theme from Mario Galaxy, you can't extend that because that was dynamic. But otherwise, like, it's a functional app. I'm
willing to assume that, like, the songs that are actually different, actually they're strictly speaking the same song, but like they're different .mp3 files in the game's code. I'm willing to bet that there might be some kind of like, this is an official soundtrack legal release credit thing where it's like they can't separate those, and there's not an easy functional way to separate the different phases of the song. So.
I would assume that's something. My one other criticism is I wish they had the like album art for the game's official soundtrack release on there, because it's all box art, and that's fine. But some of these games have like some baller ass album art. Like Fire Emblem Awakening's album art is probably some of my favorite album art of any game soundtrack. It's nice. It's just a nice piece of art, and I wish those showed up on the app in any way, shape, or form. That's it.
I think we gave that more than honorable mention time.
Little bit.
So my remaining honorable mentions, we got Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. They made a new good Super Monkey Ball game. Oh my god. Fucking
They're still
finally.
capable of that. That's weird.
Yeah. Like, without Nagoshi, too. Which is wild. Like, hey, RTG, I'm, like, make more. Please. I'm begging you. But also, why do the minigames suck? Like, Monkey Ball was famous for, like, its party games, its minigames. And who's making this? The developer of Yakuza? Why do the minigames suck? Why are there so few minigames? Why are there no minigames, honestly?
The monkeys said no. They were busy.
Fuck you.
They were very busy.
Anyway, and my final one, Tactical Breach Wizards. This is an indie tactical game that just came out this year. It fucking rules. It is like, so it's like one of those kind of like tactical military shooters, but like with wizards. And it's like the setting is like modern day wizards, like using their magic as technology and stuff. It rules. And it's like a perfect information kind of game where it's like you can also rewind the turns and like get everything to work perfectly. And because of that, the challenges that they have within the missions, like the challenge objectives, are like really interesting puzzles. It is such a good, like, puzzly tactics game, and it has the best in-game currency for unlocking rewards ever. For unlocking the cosmetic options, the additional outfits, it is confidence. The way that it says it is, you already own all of the outfits. You just need to build the confidence to be able to pull them off. It's so perfect.
Beautiful.
And those are my honorable mentions.
So let's get into the 10. Dear God, it's already been almost an hour.
Yeah, I think we spent more time on the honorable mentions than I wanted us to. But, you know, whatever.
When the conversation goes, the conversation goes.
Yeah.
I'll start on the 10s.
Okay.
And my number 10 is Zenless Zone Zero. And 10 is the lowest it could possibly go for many reasons. One being, again, Gotcha's terrible.
Did you mean to say lowest? Mechanic. Or did you mean to say highest?
Lowest.
Okay.
Highest as in like...
alarmed for a second.
Highest as in like 10 is the only place it could be.
Okay. I was a little alarmed when you were like, the absolute floor for it is a 10. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Like, it can't go any higher. I enjoy it a lot, but the presence of Gotcha makes it like I can't praise it too hard because it's fucking Gotcha should be regulated out of existence. It's gambling. It should not be legal.
I agree. I think Gotcha is unethical. And whenever I tell people that that's how I feel about like anything where you are purchasing something and you are not guaranteed to get the thing that you want from your purchase. They're like, well, what about trading card games have always been like that? And I'm like, yeah, regulate them too. But trading card games, you can at least fucking sell your card and buy the specific one you want on eBay. So no, that's not a valid comparison.
Yeah, pretty much. And also, one day they will not shut down the servers of the physical Pokemon trading card game and make all of the things you pulled disappear forever.
Yeah. I think it is unethical for you to do a real money purchase with no guarantee that you are getting the thing that you want.
Yes.
Not ethical.
Despite the fact that I now play two gacha games that I really like, that is always in the shadow of gacha sucks and should not exist. So that's the disclaimer I want to throw on this. I really like Zenless Zone Zero. I got in pretty late comparatively to some of the people that we know. I like the first 3 or 4 chapters were out by the time I had started playing. And they actually just did the finale of their part 1 as well, like last week. It was fine. It was fine. Some of it felt kind of rushed. And also, it was really weird because clearly the video game voice actor strike, which if you're not aware, yes, is still going. Some of their characters are clearly voiced by union actors, but the cutscenes were already made.
Hoyoverse has been getting pretty hard by the strike.
So the most off-putting and funniest thing is that you get this big, like, it kind of tries to do an Avengers style, everybody is here, they've all arrived, and they're all here to help you. But then, like, 4 of the characters aren't voiced. They can't be, because their voice actor is striking. So the subtitle shows up, and the character's mouth moves, but it's silence. And then the character next to them talks, and you hear them vocally, and it's so fucking weird. And this happens with multiple characters. It was really, really funny. God, I hope that strike gets resolved soon and in the actor's favor.
You know, I remember during like the writer's strike for Hollywood, there was like the whole thing of like for months, just, you know, no studio in Hollywood could get anything done except A24, who immediately agreed to all of the strike's terms and they were allowed to get back to work immediately. And it's like amazing when you look at like situations like this where the game itself is so clearly being impacted in such a big way that like, is it really worth being like, you can individually agree to the terms. Why don't like just fucking do it?
I don't know. I have no idea. I've never played a Hoyoverse game before this. I've never had a super huge interest. I didn't have a big interest in playing Genshin. I didn't have like any interest in playing Honkai Star Rail. So this is the first one. It's not perfect, and it's definitely not something I would point to somebody to be like, oh, you want like a really good action game? Well, you should go play Zenless Zone Zero. It's when you played it, I know that your main problem was it didn't feel like it had like any depth to the combat, which for some characters I can absolutely see.
I did also really hate the character design, but the combat felt like just mashing the same button over and over again until a different button lit up, and then you would press that button once and then go back to the original button. See,
so it does what kind of how Devil May Cry does it, which is a lot of it is in the spacing between hitting that button. Because moves will change depending on like if you have a second pause between presses 2 and 3, which Devil May Cry does that as well, but a little more because it's a lot more button inputs.
I guess I just didn't see that in the like the early character, like in the tutorial stuff.
One of the characters in the like 2 of the characters that started in the tutorial have that. Here's why you didn't see it. You have to find the tutorials elsewhere. It does not teach you how to play those 3 characters within the game. It doesn't teach you any of their specific mechanics. You have to like go into another menu and personally like fucking do their tutorials for them to teach you that character's mechanics. It's bad. It's really bad. I'm not going to defend that. I don't know if it would like fix your problems with the combat depth. I do think there's more depth than is given credit there. But
I mean, there's also just so much working against it. I do not like Hoyoverse character design. It's a gacha game. I don't need another live service in my life. I'll go play Devil May Cry.
Yeah, that and that's perfectly valid. But I like the characters a lot. Not the 3 from the start. They're fine. I mean, Nicole, I think, is kind of funny.
I have seen some good characters now. Like, none of them were in the game at 1.0. Like, let me clarify. I do not like a single character that was in 1.0. I checked. But, like, there have been some good ones since.
I really like, specifically, I really like Bellabog Industries, which is this Chapter 2 folks. And I really like the Sons of Caledon, with the Chapter 4 folks. And then Chapter 3 also has Victoria Housekeeping Service, which are the maids and the Butler Wolfman. Butler Wolfman's fucking rad, by the way. He's super cool. He's so fucking cool.
Get maid aesthetic. I don't like it. I never like it in anything.
I'm neutral on it. It's just they like it in Japan, I guess. I
think it hurts that it always looks the costume always looks the same to me.
I mean, it's based on a specific dress from France, I believe. Yes. So that would probably be why, but yeah, I
understand why. I just don't like it.
But they're a lot of fun. That's the group that Ellen, which is a character that shows up a lot in like fan art and stuff, is from. The shark lady. She's got a big shark tail and sharp teeth.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
I like her a lot. I don't think her design would be for you, but I like her a lot.
Okay, well, let me look here.
Her name is Ellen Jo.
Easy. Oh fuck! I don't like this at all. You're right.
I like her mostly as a character because I think she's fun. But yeah, Sons of Caledon. Caesar specifically, I think, is probably my favorite character in the game. Also, my favorite character to play in the game. She's rad. I really like her. Basically, it's an action game that I find. I think it's enjoyable. I make myself miserable by sometimes playing on my phone, which is not an experience I recommend, and that's just how much I prefer playing video games in bed that I will do that to myself. But if you want to give it a shot, play it on PC or PS5 with a gamepad in your hand. Just trust me on that. And that's all I have to say on Zenless Zero.
All right. So my number 10 is a YouTube video by Jenny Nicholson. This is the spectacular failure of the Star Wars Hotel.
So I haven't watched this video, but I keep getting it suggested to me. I've never watched any Jenny Nicholson videos. It's one. Oh, she's a channel. So good. She's a channel that has been on my radar for eventually at some point I should try it out, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
So the thing about Jenny Nicholson is that, first of all, Jenny Nicholson got her start on the internet doing an abridged series for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic called Friendship is Witchcraft.
Hell yeah. And abridged, the era of abridged anime series started so many internet careers that aren't really that anymore.
It really did. And like it was fucking wild to me that like I was familiar with that series. And then there's this gap in my life where I'm not interested in this franchise anymore. And then I discover this YouTuber named Jenny Nicholson. She's pretty cool. And then she has a video about going to the last BronyCon. And I'm like, that's a little outside her usual wheelhouse. And then she's like, well, yeah, I have this history at the fandom. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Are you fucking with me right now? Oh, God. So that was a little weird. But Jenny Nicholson also talks a lot about theme parks. And a lot about Disney, especially. And the thing about when she talks about Disney is that she's not just a Disney adult. She kind of is a Disney adult. I'm kind of a Disney adult. I'm ashamed of it, but I am. But Jenny is a former employee of Disneyland.
That's not what they call. That's not what they call them. She's a former cast member at Disneyland.
So she not only enjoys theme parks, but she has genuine experience and insight to give about how Disney does things, because she's literally worked it. And she has so many good theme park videos. One non-Disney video that I recommend a lot is her Evermore video, which is a 4-hour video about a theme park you've never fucking heard of. And it's enrapturing. I cannot believe this thing exists. It was supposed to it's like, what if you combined a theme park like Disney with LARP, and it had lore and an ongoing story that changed every single day, so that it was incomprehensible to the average guest, but you had diehards going there every week to get the story updates.
Jesus Christ,
fucking insane. But so her video about the Star Wars hotel is, I would say, the only thing you will ever need to see about the Star Wars hotel, because it is a comprehensive exploration of both its history, the context in which it was greenlit, and how the Star Wars franchise was doing at the time versus when it finally released, as well as how the Disney parks themselves were doing at the time versus when they were released. And she attended the Galactic Star Cruiser, the Star Wars hotel, as a guest, and tells the story of her experience there, with the context of all of the behind the scenes details, as well as her own personal visit where fucking everything went wrong in a way of I remember when she was there on Twitter, she sent a tweet that said, normally when you're on vacation and something goes wrong and you get screwed over, you get upset. But when you're there for a review, you just say, that's interesting. And by God, her experience there, you would think by now that she's on this list, because I think she's the number one most subscribed person on Patreon.
I think
the number one.
I think I saw her tweet at one point, because I follow a lot of YouTubers that are friends with her. And I think I saw her tweet at one point. I might be making this up in my head that I've been informed that Disney is aware of the Star Wars hotel video.
Yeah. No, and that's the best part is that immediately after she released the video, she went to Disney and had a bad experience when something went wrong too. So I'm like, how is your name not on a list of make sure nothing goes wrong with this girl? It's so fucking funny. But the Star Wars hotel is it's fucking unhinged to see the journey of how it went from something that actually sounds like a good idea that makes sense, and then you watch as every genuinely interesting idea gets stripped away. And it starts out with, we had good ideas for Galaxy's Edge, for the Star Wars land at Disney World, that gets slowly stripped away between the concept phase and opening day, where it's there were supposed to be droids wandering around. There was supposed to be interactive elements with an app that would help you go on story stuff with cast members and stuff that eventually just wasn't there at launch. And then they try to claim, that was always all that concept art that you saw that was implying that was always meant for this, for the hotel. And then you see the hotel experience gets stripped back a lot, to the point that now it's a lesser form of what it was supposed to be, until and until like it's finally time for this thing to start like, you know, existing, start running, and it's just a nightmare of how they don't understand how to market it, because like it's effectively a 2-day LARP meant for like normies, for parents of children and all that stuff. It's like the concept is so strange, and they don't ever manage to figure out how to sell it, on top of it's just broken. It doesn't work. And this is a 4-hour takedown of this thing, where she is not only describing how it utterly failed at every stage, but how it was like borderline a scam in some ways, of like how unethical it was to sell this as such a high-end premium experience when it just doesn't work. And I think it might be my favorite YouTube video of the year. All of Jenny Nicholson's content is so good. She's like she's kind of like, in a way, low production, because it's really just her staring into a camera, talking for all that time, and putting on insane costumes as she's doing it. She goes so hard on that, but like she so deeply knows what she's talking about, and knows how to tell this story and make sure that you are able to follow along, and also that you have the full idea of what happened. And this is one of the wildest things that she's covered. And I think that it is an absolute must watch. So that's the spectacular failure of the Star Wars Hotel.
At some point, I will probably watch it. It is like legitimately this week shown up on my suggestions. And
currently
YouTube
has 11 million views.
That sounds about right.
It is her third most viewed video ever.
Speaking of basically theme parks that go wrong entirely, number 9 on my list is Dead Rising Deluxe Remastered. Nailed the segue, baby.
Capcom's doing pretty well, right? In general,
Capcom's doing pretty well, honestly, at the moment. Street Fighter 6 is still going real strong. They have a Monster Hunter game coming out in a couple months, don't they?
Yes.
Wilds. When does that come out?
February, I think. The same day as Pirate Yakuza.
Oh, right. I did hear about that. But so this one was a little different in that it's just Dead Rising. Dead Rising, the original, came out in 2006.
I would hope so. It's a remaster.
Yeah, but like sometimes they'll say remaster and it's kind of just like a remake. This is just Dead Rising, but we made better graphics. And like 2 things were changed that really should have been changed, and it's good that they were changed. Even though the usual crowd on the internet would disagree with me saying
that kind of change.
One of them being that, so in Dead Rising, one of the mechanics is you can take pictures, because you play as Frank West, who's a photojournalist.
I don't like where this is going.
And if you took a picture of, say, a woman, one of the categories it could rate it on was erotic. That is not in the remaster. They took that out.
I agree.
The other thing, though, is that a late game boss fight against a butcher, they completely changed that character's design, which is good because the original was super racist. Because he's a Chinese butcher.
Oh fuck! Please say less. Oh my god!
They made it way better in the remaster. They changed in the original game. You fight him in this dirty meat locker because, you know, Chinese cooks they're dirty or something. I don't know. And it's in the new game. It looks like a meat place you would see in real life. It is clean and looks normal. And he doesn't talk in like super broken English anymore. And they made him look like a person and not a racist caricature, which is a really good change to make.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was really bad in the original game. And as far as I'm aware, outside of like nerfing some stuff, which they nerfed the one-handed chainsaws specifically against bosses, which I'm mad about. I'll get into that in a second. Other than that, it's the game. It's just the same game that came out in 2006 or 2008. I don't remember when it came out, but it's the same game that came out. And I had a blast playing it. I had so much fun. Dead Rising is fun. The first one. The second one is fine. But past that, they have kind of just dropped the ball on every single Dead Rising game since then.
That is what I've heard.
Like Dead Rising has not had a good game since 2. This one is a very good fucking Dead Rising game.
I've really only had one experience with Dead Rising where I tried to play 2. And I would not say I liked it right away.
Yeah, I think that 2 has a problem where I don't know what I would say the problem with 2 is. I don't know. Just something about it doesn't feel as fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not tell you why.
It felt like it was trying to be very serious on top of all things.
Well, that's the thing that the original Dead Rising does very well, which is the story is played deadly serious, but in a kind of like in kind of a corny like B horror movie sort of way. But like it's a serious plot, and then you're doing it while Frank West is dressed in a child's shirt, like short shorts and a Mega Man helmet, which was what I was rocking for a while. By the end of the game, I'm pretty sure I was in big, like heavy metal Mega Man boots, a Mega Man X helmet with the visor. And it's important that I point out with the visor because I was also wearing aviator sunglasses, which really tied the whole thing together. I'm not going to lie. No shirt. I think it turned into no pants either. I don't remember if I put on pants near the end of the game, but basically what I'm saying is I was a like new paradigm of fashion. I wanted to find him the stupidest hat I could find, but I just didn't. Unfortunately, no propeller hat. You'd think there'd be like a little propeller beanie somewhere. I couldn't find one. There is one stretch of like an hour where it becomes a genuinely awful game. Like just miserable to play. But once you're past that, you're fine. And just the reason I'm mad about the one-handed chainsaws. So the bosses in Dead Rising are psychopaths. They're people that fucking snapped or sometimes they're people that were just awful people before, and this just gave them the opportunity to not hide it anymore. Mm-hmm. But in this case, one of the bosses is a clown who basically watched like a bunch of people get fucking eaten in front of him. And one of his pieces of his act is he juggles these one-hand chainsaws. And once you kill a boss, they'll spawn like an item that you can now, it's just there. You can go back and get another one whenever. And he drops his chainsaws and you can pick those up. And in the original game, when you took those to a boss fight, the boss fight was over in 10 seconds. That is not the case anymore. Whether that is a good or a bad thing, I'll let you decide. For me, it's a bad thing because I thought it was funny. But yeah, it's a really good remaster. I would say if you want to try the original Dead Rising, this is the place to do it. Mm-hmm. Like I had fun. I had a really good time.
Maybe I should.
I mean, you technically have access to it because I bought it on Steam.
That is true. My number 9 is a concert. It is the Sonic Symphony World Tour. This fucking ruled. So, a couple of years ago, there was the Sonic Symphony video that Sega put up because oops COVID, where it was the basic gist of what the Sonic Symphony was going to be, and then this starting last year and mostly going into this year, they managed to do the Sonic Symphony World Tour and bring the whole concert around the world. I went to it twice. I went to it first in Boston, and then I went to it when it came to Newark, New Jersey. And I had a fucking blast because I think I said when we did last year the Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog stream, it kind of like solidified for me in a way that I hadn't really been cognizant of until then, that like I think I care more about Sonic than I do about most any other video game brand. Because like I grew up with Sonic. Live and Learn is one of my favorite songs ever written. I care so deeply about Shadow the Hedgehog. It's just so important to me. And the energy of being in the room during the concert with all of these Sonic songs was electric. And the structure of the show is that it's kind of a 2-act show. The first act is pretty much exactly what you think when I say a symphony concert for video game music. And it has medleys of Sonic 1, 2, 3, Mania. It has an arrangement combining Tails' theme and Sonic's theme from Sonic Adventure 1. It has a Chow Garden medley with just like all the video that they have on screen is just the Chow being cute. And then they go into the Chow race and the audience is losing their mind cheering for the Chow in the video. And it's just so good. They did a Sonic Heroes medley. Like, while you and me were in the middle of streaming Sonic Heroes, they debuted it for the concert that I went to. And they did Dreams of an Absolution in this part. A symphony version of Dreams of an Absolution.
That song rules.
It does rule. And then they take an intermission. And then you come back from intermission. The orchestra, does the I don't know what the name for it is, where like they all make sure their instruments are in tune and everything. They just,
tuning.
Play the.
It's just called tuning.
So they do that, and then I Am All of Me starts playing as a rock band walks out on stage, and they tell everyone to stand up. This is now a rock concert.
Nice.
As this rock band on stage with the orchestra behind them starts performing I Am All of Me, the main theme to Shadow the Hedgehog 2005. And so many people start singing along, including me. And there's like video, like the opening cutscene of Shadow the Hedgehog is playing on the video screen, and it like has the gun soldiers shooting Maria. The crowd goes wild at that moment. They all cheer. And it's like fucking amazing to like actually like be part of a room of people that are as excited about this main theme to this terrible video game as I am. And then the next song they play is All Hail Shadow from Shadow the Hedgehog 2005, and it's like I know all the words to that one too, and it's this room full of people screaming, "Bow your heads low, all hail Shadow," and it's so fucking good. And then they say, "Okay, so this next one, I know you all know this one," and it goes into City Escape. And they say everyone sing along, and every single person in the room knows City Escape.
Damn right.
Everyone. And then the next song that comes up is His World. And I'm turning to my friend like, oh, what deranged person would be able to sing along with this? And then I immediately go into singing along with the lyrics. And then halfway through His World, the conductor for the orchestra steps back, walks up to the microphone, and he starts singing the song.
Nice. Nice.
So fucking good. In the Boston concert, Tomoyo Atani, the longtime composer of the Sonic franchise, was there. and he brings up how he, his first song that he composed for the franchise was actually not a Sonic song. It was a Knuckles song. And then they start performing Pumpkin Hill.
That was his first?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's so fucking good, dude. Oh my god. It's like, it's the only place in the world that I've seen people mark out for Sonic 2006. They mark out for Night of the Wind from Sonic and the Black Knight. For, oh my god, for What I'm Made Of, the final boss theme for Sonic Heroes, my favorite Crush 40 song. And then they start playing like songs from Sonic Frontiers, like the good songs from Sonic Frontiers, the ones that like we heard one of those, and like that was the moment where like I just kind of put the controller down when we were streaming, and I was like, I think we need to do this whole game, and then we didn't because I never ended up liking that game. But wow, some of those songs are good. And then Live and Learn starts, and it's just another moment of like every single person in this room knows this song, and it's one of my favorite songs, I think. I fucking love it. And then they said that what happened next was different between the Boston and the Newark show. At the Boston show, the singer for the concert, Ty Christian, said that he requested when he joined for them to add on one more song, which was his favorite song from the franchise, which they do an acoustic arrangement of, with just like, the whole band walks up, does vocals together with one acoustic guitar, and it's One Way Dream from Sonic Frontiers, which is that was honestly the first time I had heard it right there in that concert. It is kind of a beautiful song. I really do like it. And then for the Newark show, the guest performer for the night was Casey Lee Williams, who is probably best known as the vocalist for many of the songs in Ruby, like RWBY Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
And she has grown into an amazing vocalist, an amazing performer, because she started on Ruby when she was like 15, and she's like in her late 20s now. And she not only was so good, like it felt amazing to like be able to see her perform live and do such a good job after like me kind of being a Ruby hater for years. But also she performed a new song for Sonic X Shadow Generations, and it on the day of the Newark concert when she was there, that song had never been officially released in any form, and it's not actually in the video game, it's in like the animated shorts. So you can't even like rip a clean version of it from the video game. And she like in place of the acoustic One Way Dream, she performed the acoustic version of that song, which I cried at that song. I care so much about Shadow the Hedgehog, and it was so special. And both times that I went with friends, and it was like being able to share like this stupid franchise that means so much to me with them, and like feel the energy of these people who care just as much about it as I do. It was an unforgettable experience. A part of me is still thinking like maybe I could spare $100 to go to the DC show still, which will be the final show, but I don't think I can justify that. And if it comes back and they do it again, I'm going to go again because it was everything to me. I loved it.
I did see that at the London show, they did Sonic R. They had Richard Jacques come out.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the original vocalist, I don't remember if I read that.
They did.
Yeah. And they did Sonic R music, which is fucking
They performed
rad.
that one at the Newark show too. Yeah.
God, that soundtrack's so fucking good.
It's so good.
Yeah, the closest I've gotten to that is when we went to the Supergiant concert at PAX. Which is not quite the same thing. Like, those are still some of my favorite songs in games. But, like, I wouldn't say that's quite the same thing.
There's so much energy and history with Sonic.
If I had to, like, point to one that would, like, hit me like that the hardest, God, I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth. It'd be Kingdom Hearts.
Of course, yeah.
Because, like, music of Kingdom Hearts is so fucking good.
I can imagine that one, yeah.
But
I think Sonic in the way is like also perfect for it because it's like it has the musical library to be both the symphony show and the rock show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's able to serve these two very different energies in the same night like that. And that was everything to me. I loved it. I loved it so much. Yeah, that's my number 9.
My number 8 feels less impactful after that. That's weird. But so like I said earlier, I'm pretty sure it was on. Yeah, it was on recording that I have one thing started in 2021. I don't know when it ended. Oops, I forgot. One of these things is not from this decade. But I played it for the first time this decade. And its HD version came out in 2017, so I'm counting it.
Okay.
It's too late to come up with something else to put there. And it is a visual novel called Planetarian. Very short.
I know this one.
A very short, like 4-hour thing. Funnily enough, I learned of its existence because I saw that Fuamoko were streaming it. I didn't watch the stream. I don't watch Fuamoko streams because they're a lot. I love them. They're so fucking talented, and in clips, they're really funny. They're so much. But I looked up they mentioned in the tweet that they were like ready to cry, and I said, I like things that make me cry. Let's look into this game.
Same,
I like hurting,
dude.
I like hurting myself for entertainment's sake. And the basic premise, once I read it, I was like, okay, yeah, this sounds like my shit. And then I believe it was super cheap on Steam. So I just went and grabbed it. And it was one of the first games that I played this year. Granted, that means I played it in April. It's been a rough year, folks. But the basic premise is the player character is... Okay, it's a post-apocalyptic thing. Chemical warfare drove everybody out of the cities, and then because a bunch of wars broke out, and this was at the point when people were using automated military equipment, drones and shit like that. And those kept fighting even after everybody died from the bio sickness thing.
This is always a fun theme.
And so the player character is somebody who lives in that post-society world, who's basically a junker. He goes into cities and he goes through all of the like abandoned buildings and stuff to see if he can find something of use to either sell or use. And he comes across a planetarium where an android that worked at that planetarium is still functioning and believes him to be the 10,000th customer of the planetarium. And I really like how it handles her, because she has just enough intelligence that she is like an intelligent being, but her programming only goes so far as, I am an intelligent being made to work at this planetarium, and anything beyond these walls I don't really know about. And so she tries to coax him into, you have to stay and you have to watch the show. You're our first customer in a very long time, our 10,000th customer. We have a special show for our 10,000th customer. And she goes to start up the show, and the fucking projector, of course, is broken, because it's been hundreds of years at this point. And so she convinces this guy to fix the planetarium projector so that she can show him the show. And it's got this... It does a really good job with the sort of tone of, oh, the world ended, and this woman has no fucking idea that it happened. Like she's, as far as she is aware, everything is still working as normal. It's just people haven't been coming to the planetarium.
Mm-hmm.
And she still stands outside and advertises the planetarium every day for no one. And yeah, it just sort of goes from there, and it's the typical really really fucking cynical person who has been through nothing but bullshit their entire lives, and has basically just seen like had the worst life you could possibly have, and like him slowly like warming up to and starting to feel kind of sorry for this character that just like everybody she knows is dead. And
this sounds like it has the potential to play into like one of my favorite themes in like fiction and media, where it's one of like the setting that you're in is like really dark and bleak, and some might say like grimdark in some ways, but ultimately it turned like the story that it ends up being one about like hope and optimism and like still choosing to find good and happiness. And I'm getting the vibe that maybe that's what this kind of is.
So minor spoilers. He does eventually manage to fix the projector, and she shows the show, and that is the part that gets me.
Right.
Because it does kind of dial into what you just talked about. It's a very, very good visual novel. It's a short one, and I don't know. It kind of stuck with me for the year.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it to anybody who likes that kind of story. I think it's just short enough that it manages to pull off all of its story beats really well, and nothing feels dragged out or anything like that. And it's just genuinely very enjoyable story. So I recommend that 100%. Planetarian is what it is called.
Okay. I do like the sound of that. I'd never heard of it, like, at all.
I had also never heard of it before seeing the tweets by Fuamoko, so this was a new one to me as well.
Yeah.
It has an anime adaptation, I found out, that is on Crunchyroll, but I have not watched it.
It's probably not as good.
Possibly. I found mixed feelings on it on like Analyst and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. My number 8. And looking at my list, I should have put Sonic Symphony higher. Sonic Symphony definitely should have gone higher. But whatever. Like, Sonic Symphony should have been, like, at least number 5. But whatever. What's done is done. So my number 8. This is a movie. It is Wicked, Part 1. So, Wicked is a show that I saw on Broadway. It's the only show that I've ever actually been to Broadway for. And it is one that resonates with me a lot, more than I think it actually is good, I would say. Number one, because just the main character, Alpha, is really easy to read as a queer character in a very specific way that I relate to a lot. But also, like, the music, of course, famously very good. And I kind of love its whole reinterpretation deal that it does with the World of Oz. Problem is that, like, Wicked as a Broadway show has problems. Because it's based off of a book. And the book is definitely much more, like, edgy and grimdark. But it also handles questions of, like, socio-political issues. Because it starts with the question of, like, hey, isn't the Wizard of Oz kind of fucked up? Like, the character of the Wizard of Oz, like, inherently he's like a charlatan who's a liar.
Jeff Goldblum in this movie, right?
Yes.
That's such perfect casting.
Perfect casting. 100%. So it starts that question of, like, hey, the character of the Wizard of Oz is kind of fucked up, right? And it envisions, like, how like Oz is kind of very similar to a fascist state in many ways. And that is kind of what the book is about ultimately. It asks the question of like, what does it take for a man like that to maintain power? It asks the question of like, how does the witch become villainized through propaganda? It asks a lot of those questions and brings up themes that I think resonate very well and are very important, especially in our modern day. And it's kind of not a very good book. It's kind of not that great. So the stage show cuts out a lot of that and becomes much less interesting as a consequence, but better, I would say. It's a better package and more enjoyable. And that's where the movie comes in. Because the movie does both. The movie restores a lot of the theming of, hey, this is kind of a commentary on fascism and how propaganda is used as a tool, as the people in charge are pushing out the undesirables, and how they're going to use you in your quest for belonging and your quest for trying to be accepted. And they're going to tell you, you can be accepted and special and get everything you dream as long as you help us, keep this power. And it does that while being Wicked, the musical. It has these incredible songs. It's got all the fun and flashiness of the Broadway show. It's got some of the best fucking dance numbers I've ever seen put to screen. It's trying to be both Wicked the book and Wicked the movie. And Wicked. It's trying to be both Wicked the book and Wicked the stage show. And I think it's pulling it off. And it's a part 1, part 2. Unfortunately, I hate those inherently, but I also don't think it was the wrong thing to do, because number one, they were kind of right when they said, how do you keep the movie going after Defying Gravity? Because Defying Gravity is such a fucking showstopper of an Act 1 finale. You can't just move on to the next scene. You have to stand up and have the audience take a break. You have to. And number 2, Act 2 kind of sucks in Wicked because it just speed runs everything. And it's just kind of an afterthought. So it's like you say to me, okay, like they extended this movie's long enough to almost be the length of the entire Broadway show, and like, how are you going to make a second movie? Like, is that just going to be like making up entire things that aren't in Act 2? And I'm like, I hope so. Act 2 sucks. Act 2 of Wicked sucks. So it's like, if they stick the landing, this could be the definitive version of Wicked. Actually, this could be better than the stage show. And they haven't stuck the landing of part 2 yet. They haven't stuck the Act 2 landing yet. But Act 1 is really fucking good. Like I said, some of the best dance sequences I've ever seen in film. Like the dance number for What Is This Feeling? Is just so electric. There's so much movement, and they take this song that was it was actually kind of static in the stage show. There wasn't really any dancing in it, and it becomes very kinetic and very cinematic in the way that this entire school is just alienating the main character and just being awful to her. And then there's Dancing Through Life, like literally a song with dancing in the title. That becomes like a 10-minute dance epic in a way, and it's they're doing such insane shit with like camera work to facilitate this crazy dance scene that it's like, this dance scene couldn't be done on stage, because it is using the idea of the camera, of the cinematic language, to be part and parcel with the dance scene. And it's so much fun. Every iteration of every song is so good. And the thing that I was least expecting to walk out of this saying is that Ariana Grande fucking killed it. Like, I want her to go on to have more of an acting career, because wow, she was good. Like, oh, right, she was an actress before she was a pop star. Yeah. I forgot about that. And she's really good at it. I want her to have a Hollywood career from here. Like, she might be the highlight of the movie for me. So, part 1. I loved that. I really loved it. And like Wicked emotionally means a lot to me, more than I think it is, more than I think it's quality. And I think this movie kind of sets out to fix that in a way. This movie, again, if they stick the landing with part 2, then I think it's going to elevate Wicked to being as good as it emotionally means to me, I would say. And I hope it does, because Defying Gravity is a song that emotionally means everything to me. So, like, that song, like, it's like the anthem for me of like this gives me so much energy and power, and I just hope that they can follow up on that by making Act 2 mean as much. So I love Wicked.
It is really weird that can segue very well into my number 7 for a very specific reason. Because my number 7 is the fact that I went to Paris and London for a week.
Did you meet Ariana Grande?
So many gigantic marketing displays for Wicked, to the point where it became a common thing for me to say to my mother, who was with me for most of the trip, hey, I think Wicked might be out. Because it's just fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I'd never been overseas before. Like generally, I've been outside of the country, but by outside of the country,
so is your number 8 the
Canada,
country of
Mexico.
Paris?
My number 8? No, well, first of all, we're on number 7.
Oh, fuck, right. Yeah.
Second of all, it's the city of Paris and the city of London.
Okay.
So I went over with my mother. She really likes European traveling. She really likes going to Europe. She does it a lot. And she invited me to go. The main reason we were going was because my cousin is currently studying abroad in London.
Mm-hmm.
She's studying theater lighting. So we were just going to go visit her. This was the week of American Thanksgiving, by the way. So I was in London on Thanksgiving. Actually, I wasn't in London. We'll get to that. In Paris, it was just me and my mother, which was interesting. She very clearly very much loves Paris. It's like her favorite city in the world. It's her favorite place in the world, basically. So
I'm guessing she's been there before.
Very many times. Very, very many times.
Okay. Many times.
The funniest thing about Paris was that the first building I saw when I stepped out of the train station was a Five Guys Burgers and Fries. Which was certainly a thing to see over in France. And like it's surrounded by these cobble streets and fucking this clearly pretty old French neighborhood, and it's just there's a modern fucking Five Guys just right there on the corner.
That means so much to me.
There were a lot of fucking chains I saw, especially in London. They have so many of our fast food chains, it's kind of nuts. They have Taco Bell now.
I mean, that's not surprising.
They have Taco Bell now. Canada doesn't have Taco Bell.
Canada's better off for that.
They're right next door. So yeah, Paris was interesting. We didn't do a huge amount of touristy stuff, so we didn't go to the Louvre because everybody that I know or follow that has been to the Louvre have all said the same thing, which is that it's not worth it.
Oh my god. Okay.
The description I have always heard is you wait in line for 3 hours to take a picture of the Mona Lisa and then leave.
But what about the 3DS stuff that they have there?
Do they still have that?
I assume so.
I have no idea. But yeah, everybody I've ever seen that's been to the Louvre has been like, it's not worth it. And also the Mona Lisa is apparently way smaller than people think it is. It is like this big.
Oh, is it like not even as big as this poster I have here?
Oh yeah, no, it's smaller than that.
Wow.
The Mona Lisa is very small.
Okay.
Sorry, everybody. I was doing a visual thing, and you're listening to an audio podcast. So but
that's okay.
Mona Lisa's apparently super small.
Look, they just need to subscribe to our OnlyFans feed, and then.
God, can we get that going? Because I could use some secondary income. I could really, really use that right now. But we did see the Eiffel Tower. We didn't go up into the Eiffel Tower, which I wasn't. First of all, I didn't know you could do that. Second of all, but then you can't see the Eiffel Tower. And aren't you there to see the Eiffel Tower?
I assume there are some other things to see.
I mean, maybe. I guess there's probably a view that's pretty good.
Probably.
But, like, we're there, like, the week they start the Christmas decorations going. So, the Eiffel Tower is decked out for Christmas, and all the buildings around us are decked out for Christmas. And it's really not, like, as hard as we go for Christmas, because we're a capitalist dystopia that has distilled Christmas into a singular thing that coats the entire country for a month.
Little bit.
But like lights and stuff. And so my mom decides, we should, let's find a bar where you can see the Eiffel Tower and we'll get a drink. And she got wine. I'm not a huge alcohol drinker. I maybe have one alcoholic drink a year. Mostly because one year my family went to Puerto Rico for New Year's Eve, and the day after New Year's Eve is one of the worst days of my life. It was the worst hangover I've ever experienced.
I do remember you talking about that.
It was so bad that I stopped drinking.
I used to drink more than I do, and then I lost 70 pounds and started estrogen, which are two things that lower your alcohol tolerance a lot.
Well, there's also that, and if you're on antidepressants, you actually aren't supposed to drink. You can.
That's part of why I stopped antidepressants.
Like, you can, but you really aren't supposed to.
That's part of why I stopped antidepressants. And also because they weren't doing anything, because I didn't need them. I needed estrogen.
But, so we're at this bar. My mom gets a wine, and I get a hot chocolate. Which, first of all, really good hot chocolate because it's literally actually chocolate. Like just fucking melted chocolate and a separate thing of cream, and they pour it together, and it was very good.
Mm-hmm.
And our waiter seems very angry that we are here.
Yeah, that's French people for you.
Yeah, so he's
I
like,
assume. I don't know why I'm saying that. I have no personal experience with any French people.
Because he's slamming the stuff on the table in front of us. He is not asking anything. He's just like, here's your shit. And then he walks off. And my mom, who is a much bigger extrovert than I am, in that she describes it as stranger engaging, where she describes that she'll just talk to people, just random people, if something interests her about it. And when she explains this to me, I'm like, hi, you just described my nightmare. I can't talk to random people. I will die. But she decides, all right, I'm going to befriend this waiter. First of all, she says, congratulations, you're getting the French waiter experience. So that's why you said that. That's the stereotype. That's apparently just how a lot of them are. And she starts talking to this guy, and she's like...
And she's still going for it. Like, this is a normal thing.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And she's like, the Eiffel Tower, you're probably kind of sick of this view, huh? It's very pretty, but you see it every day, I guess. And he immediately responds, I'm not French. To which both of us are like, what? And I was like, oh, where are you from? Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And he's from San Juan, which is another city that my mother really likes visiting.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she travels a lot. And she starts talking to him about San Juan. She's like, so why are you here? And this man gets even angrier, not at her, but at the concept of the fact that he is in France, because he says, because my stupid fucking father decided he wanted to die in Paris. And so I got dragged along with that.
Christ.
And the second he dies, the next day, I will be on a plane. And it was like, he got very heated about this. Like very animated about it. And that was maybe the funniest waiter experience I've ever had in my life. So that was pretty cool. That was Paris, basically. We also found a store that only sold rubber ducks. I actually sent one to our friend Richard. I bought one and sent one to him.
As you do, yeah.
Exactly.
That's like his thing.
And then in London, we visited my cousin. My aunt and uncle joined us, her parents, and we went by Buckingham Palace, which for some reason I kept saying Birmingham Palace, despite knowing that's not what it's called. But I just kept saying that for some reason.
What a coincidence. I was playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate while you were there, so I was also at Buckingham Palace.
So we
Which,
went,
by the way, way out of like the years, the year timeline that I was trying to stick to for this, but Assassin's Creed Syndicate, surprisingly really good. So
we went by Big Ben, we went by Westminster Abbey. We did all that. We didn't take a tour of Buckingham Palace because I don't need to take a tour of a rich person's house. I don't care.
I was there in Assassin's Creed, so
we were going to ride the Eye, which is their big,
impressive.
they're really
The Ferris wheel.
the big Ferris wheel. It's 75 pounds a person.
What the for a Ferris wheel?
That's like,
excuse me?
That's like $80 a person to
For
get
a
on that
Ferris
fucking
wheel?
Ferris wheel. So the instant we heard that, we were like, okay, so we're not fucking doing the Eye. Oh, in France, we tried to go to Notre Dame, forgetting that it was still closed. And I actually had forgotten why it was closed. Because it was so long ago. Because it burnt down.
Like, ask them. Did you ask? No, but like, please tell me you didn't ask them.
No. My mother, we walked up to it and we saw all of the construction vehicles still outside of it. Mm-hmm, okay. And my mom was like, oh, right. It opened a week after we were there. It reopened the next week.
Plan that better.
So yeah, we did the touristy stuff in London. And then the next day on Thanksgiving, we went to Bath, which is another town in England, where they had a Christmas market, and that was very nice. But they also just had a museum built around a hot spring, like a natural hot spring that was a Roman bathhouse at one point. And they just had a whole museum there, and that was very, very cool. I ate a Christmas pie, which was basically a Thanksgiving meal because it was a pie with ham and turkey and mashed potatoes and carrots, and it was very, very delicious. Mm-hmm. After that, whole family ditched me. Mother went to Belgium. Aunt and uncle went home.
I'm kind of insane that it's kind of insane that happened, by the way. Like, I remember you were like saying on Discord, like, yeah, I'm not sure where I'm sleeping on Saturday.
Yeah,
and I'm
sure
like,
was.
How did you end up in that scenario?
That's a great question that I won't get into on the podcast. But that day, our friend Moses from Ohio just happened to be in London.
Just so happened, yeah.
And then David, our friend that lives over in England, who was on the Pikmin episode.
Coincidentally, he was also in England.
He was also in England. Not so much coincidentally, more that he lives there. But... and we hung out for a day, and that was pretty fun. We went to a gaming bar that everything was broken. Everything was broken. But it was...
As they do.
It was really funny because they had console setups with multiple consoles. So there was like a GameCube and an Xbox and all that. Except for the fact that the console was in this cage in the front, but they were running it off of a Raspberry Pi. You could see the UI from the Raspberry Pi. Like,
okay, dude.
You could just go select a game off of a list. The console was not what was running those games. It was really very funny.
It was just there for decoration,
I guess. And they also had like
so funny
cocktails named after video game things. And I don't remember any of them except for one of them that was just called Kirby. Like not
Well, I
Kirby's.
don't want to know what the implication there is.
Not like Kirby's something or anything like that. It was just fucking called Kirby. And I thought that was funny.
I'm worried. I'm concerned.
That night I went and stayed with David and his girlfriend. They're very nice people. Their cat is very cute. And very young. And always has a look on its face like you have just revealed something very shocking to him.
That's just cats. I love cats.
Oh, my cat doesn't look
I
like
love
that.
David. David's so good.
He just looks empty. David's a good dude. He showed me his nerd room, which is very nice. That Majora's Mask is even cooler looking in person. That he has hanging on his wall. And yeah, so I stayed with them. I need to make some excuse to
do something with David. Like he's really cool.
And so the last day, my cousin is like me in that she is an introvert that is extremely exhausted by socializing.
Ooh.
So the last day I spent with her, we went to a coffee shop and we sat in silence for 6 hours. And that was fine with me.
Fun fact, big theme of this year, I've been learning I am so not an introvert. I'm losing my fucking mind living alone. I was never an introvert. I just had very low self-esteem. And now I have high self-esteem. And now I want to be perceived. Isn't that fucked up?
A little bit. Stop it.
Like, I find excuses to go to the grocery store because I want people to see me.
Socializing
right?
for me is so exhausting. I get like you've experienced it when you came here for the release of Smash. Like there were multiple times where I had to go into my room and close the door and just not interact with anybody for a bit because I was so fucking tired. Yeah. Like it's just a thing. And like I said, my cousin is this exact same way. So we were perfectly fine having a nonverbal agreement to just be like, we're going to sit here. I played Balatro. She worked on homework. That went on for 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my Europe trip. It was a good time. I had a good time.
God bless.
And that's why it is my number 7.
Okay. It's so honestly, like I was getting the updates like from Discord while you were there, and it sounded like it was kind of miserable. So like, but like the only messages that I got was like when you were complaining about something going wrong. So it's like naturally like there was so much good going on that like
that's not true. I sent one message. I sent one message about how the Queen didn't come out to fight me in front of Buckingham Palace, and I think that was a very important one to point out.
Joe, have you been keeping up with the news?
I don't give a shit if she's dead. No excuse. Square up. Dig her up. Square up. Let's go.
Just making sure.
I just alienated like 50% of our English listeners.
I don't think you did.
Probably not.
All right. My number 7. I have been tossing back and forth whether this should be on the list at all. When we started recording tonight, it was off the list. And then I was looking at it, and I was like, I think it's going back on. Mainly because like the thing that was previously in its place, I just realized I did not have nearly as much to actually say about. So, which by the way, kicked down to honorable mentions Astrobot. Astrobot's really good, but I have fucking nothing to say about it.
I want to play Astrobot real bad.
You should. It's very good. I have fucking nothing to say about it. So, my number 7, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So, when I did that tier list of like, you know, like how I like rate the games that I played this year, which you will notice is very different from like the none of the game of the year contenders that I put in there are actually on my top 10.
Beautiful.
Just some fun little facts.
3 of my game of the year contenders are on mine.
But I put Final Fantasy. Suki's yelling, by the way. She's going to do that. She wants attention. I put Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in 2 different tiers. And it was the only game in each of those tiers. It was in a tier titled The Most Fun I've Ever Had Playing a Video Game. And it was in a tier titled The Least Fun I've Ever Had Playing a Video Game. Now, Joe, you've played Rebirth.
Yes.
Do you think that's an accurate assessment?
That's like one of 2 games we have in common this year. In fact, yeah, those are the only 2. The other one being Balatro.
Do you agree with that assessment of it, though?
Now, look, here's the thing. The least fun parts of Final Fantasy VII are just keeping to tradition, because all the minigames in the original FF7 also fucking blow.
They do, but there are so many more of them.
There are so many more in Rebirth.
And frankly, the floor is lower.
Oh, I disagree with that. There's nothing in Rebirth that's as bad as joining the fucking parade in the original FF7.
Glide Day Chocobo.
I would still put the parade in the original game as worse than that.
Grinding 3 plays of Glide to Chocobo, like literally just 3 stages, took me 2.5 hours.
See, to be fair,
because
I didn't interact with that a lot because I had the experience that most of the people I know had, which was, I think I'm going to try and 100% this. Yeah, some of the mini games are kind of bad, but whatever, I can force my way through this. And then you get to Gungaga, and then you say, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore.
Oh, Joe, you should know. I have already 100%ed.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Rebirth.
That doesn't surprise me.
Except for like the hard mode content, which is like ironic because that's actually good content. Like that's actually like legitimately really, really good. It's too hard. Like I'm trying. It's just too hard for me. I'm not that good at the game. But like in terms of like, do all this bullshit, I have done all of that bullshit. I have gotten the best scores on every minigame.
Jesus Christ.
And that is why I was unsure if Final Fantasy VII Rebirth should be on the list at all. In addition to the fact the ending sucks. The ending's really bad. I now officially hate what they're doing with the remake trilogy.
See, I don't hate the ending, but I agree that it's not very good.
I now just want a faithful remake. And I'm so mad that they have brought me to that point. Now, as for why it is on this list, because when it is just being a remake of Final Fantasy VII,
it's fucking rad.
It's kind of incredible. It's really fucking good at just being a remake of Final Fantasy VII, right?
Yeah. And also,
Tifa
Lockhart is in it.
Yeah, well, yeah, Tifa's so fucking good.
Tifa's
like,
so good.
They got me to like Yuffie.
Yeah, I'm mad about that, actually. I'm offended by that. I don't want to like Yuffie. I'm supposed to hate Yuffie.
And everything, like, the section with Barrett and Dine, I remember
fucking good.
When we played the original FF7, like we talked about like how, oh wow, that was like a really emotionally resonant part of that game. And now here in Rebirth, it's like, oh my god, like it gets to me. And like every single time that they make a decision to like still be like the faithful remake of Final Fantasy VII, but like change things as an adaptation, not change things as in it's secretly the sequel, but like change things as in we're just like presenting it in a new way with more budget and modern graphics. It's always exactly the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's always exactly what I would have wanted them to do.
Well, because you could tell that this team clearly has a lot of love for the original game.
Yeah,
and they're very familiar with it.
Did I tell you about one of the bonus fights? Let me find its name. Are you familiar with Test Zero?
Sounds sort of familiar.
So Test Zero is basically the missing no of Final Fantasy VII. You remember in like the junkyard below the gold saucer?
Yes.
So there is a room that if you manage to use cheats or glitches or whatever to get into it when you're not supposed to be there, the enemy table has a single bugged enemy that's like clearly not supposed to be there. It's called I'm talking about the original Final Fantasy VII. Yeah. It's clearly not supposed to be there. It's called Test Zero. It has the model of one of the Shinra guard dogs. It does not attack you. It has like 1 million health, and it says random dialogue during battle, which is strange. And it's basically like a missing no type bug. And in Rebirth, Test Zero appears as a bonus boss.
That's fucking rad.
And it has like 1 million health. It does not start attacking you until you've taken out like half of its health. And it says random dialogue during the battle. And it has lore about how like it's a test subject that is like kind of mimicking speech that it doesn't totally understand. And behind the scenes in an interview, like someone asks the developers like, hey, you put Test Zero in there. What the fuck's up with that? And the devs were like, yeah, okay. So like no one working on Rebirth was involved in any part of how Test Zero ended up being there. None of us knows what it is, but we knew that if we put it in, it would be exciting to the fans. And they were fucking right. Like I'll say again, I don't like the decisions they are making in terms of this secretly being a sequel to Final Fantasy VII. I think on the whole, that's turned out to be pretty bad. But in terms of this being an adaptation of Final Fantasy VII, and this in terms of this being if Final Fantasy VII was made in 2024, it is everything I could have dreamed of. And like all that is even without talking about how good I think the combat is. The combat is just so consistently good in the way that they have made the ATB meter. It's kind of still the same as in Remake. So you can just kind of listen to the bonus episode that we had on Remake. And I'm sure, I don't remember very well, but I'm sure that I talked about how much I love the combat in that. And it's just so good. It is simultaneously the best and worst video game I have played this year. And it's been so strange to reckon. Like literally, it's been on and off my top 10 over and over again. Like I completely take it off and then I put it back on, and I'm still not certain if it actually belongs there. But I have to give it credit because like so much of it is so good, and I don't know if they're gonna stick the landing with the third game, which I'm calling my shot now. The third game is gonna be called Rewritten.
Yeah,
calling that shot.
Well, since they've already used Reunion, which was the perfect name.
Yeah. So I did not realize until distressingly late that Rebirth is Bizarro Sephiroth. Rebirth Sephiroth. Like that, because the Japanese name for Bizarro Sephiroth is Rebirth Sephiroth, and the translator misread it as Reverse Sephiroth and made it Bizarro Sephiroth. But it's like, so what's Sephiroth's final form?
It's
Safer Sephiroth, which is a misreading of Sephar Sephiroth, as in the Book of Revelations Sephiroth, Book of Sephiroth, Final Fantasy VII Rewritten. Calling that shot now.
I think you're probably right. Right,
yeah,
Money.
I think so. So Final Fantasy VII Rewritten. Maybe it'll stick the landing. I don't think it will. But I do think that
Tifa Lockhart will still be in it.
Tifa Lockhart will still be in it. And my biggest disappointment with this being secretly the sequel to Final Fantasy VII, and if you really, 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 really want to avoid the spoilers, then like skip ahead a couple minutes. But like, I don't really think this is that much of a spoiler, to be honest. This is more me saying, here's what isn't. Like, the spoiler is that there's nothing to spoil.
Yeah.
In that every single character by the end of Rebirth is in the exact same spot they were in at this point in the original Final Fantasy VII. And I think that is where this fails as a secret sequel. And that's like, I'm kind of not excited about the third game because of that. But at the same time, that just means that the third game is going to be more of this cool remake of Final Fantasy VII that I like. So who knows?
Yeah, I'm still pretty pumped to play it in 3 to 4 years.
Not on the PlayStation 6.
Oh, that's true. We have to get to the next console generation first. And Kingdom Hearts 4 has to happen first.
No, almost certainly we will be on PlayStation 6 when the third remake comes out.
I don't want to hear that when I still haven't bought a PlayStation 5. I don't want to hear that.
Well, anyway, how about your number 7?
Oh, it would be number 6 for me because I went first. Shit.
I keep getting it wrong.
It's okay. Numbers are hard. I failed college algebra like 3 times before I was able to. None of what I said was a joke.
I took college calculus 4 times.
It actually is another one that can transition in pretty well, which I need to stress.
Please stop saying the word transition.
I need to stress. That's just a word. I need to stress.
Okay, dead ass real quick. From the first day that we decided we were going to do this, I was like, should I put estrogen on this list? I came real fucking close.
Hey, that was a 2023 introduction,
no,
wasn't it? Oh, was it this year? Nope. I thought it was like
I started in February.
Oh, I thought it was the tail end of 2023 for some reason.
Huh. I came out at the tail end of 2023, but I started estrogen on February 22nd.
That might be what I'm thinking of. But yeah, it's a good, easy to segue between these, which I want to stress, neither of us know what's on each other's lists. We have not shown the other person.
Yeah. That's why my list, my list has changed. My list has changed over the course of this recording.
It is a game that I have not finished, despite the fact that I very much would like to, but things got really busy when I got back from Europe, and I just haven't had a chance or the mental energy. And that is Bloober Team's remake of Silent Hill 2.
Oh boy. Now this is when you obviously we didn't decide to do this as the podcast episode until after you had already played it, but pretend for a minute that we did. You would have never expected this one to be on the list.
Yeah, here's the thing. I was ready for this game to suck ass because most of Bloober Team's output has been bad. Has been very bad, including the Silent Hill style game they released just a few years ago, being The Medium, which is really bad. And so when they announced that they were the ones that were going to be remaking Silent Hill 2, one of the most influential horror games to ever be made, and one of my favorite games of all time, because I'm basic like that, I suppose. I was not optimistic. Let's be nice and say not optimistic about it. They seemed like the absolute worst choice, which is why it surprises me so much to say, hey, this remake's really fucking good.
So I remember seeing that there was an interview with one of the higher ups at Bloober Team where he was just yeah, we're tired of making shit. We want to make good stuff now.
Well, they announced.
Oh, they did.
They announced their new game. That was around the time that they announced their game they're working on right now, which is an original game. And I'm still not gonna quite. I'm not gonna say that I think it'll be bad out of the gate. I am gonna say that it doesn't quite get the benefit of the doubt yet, because Silent Hill 2's remake is still a game and story somebody else made and wrote, that they are just retooling, essentially. But essentially. So I'm not 100% ready to be yeah, I'm on board for any original stuff that Bloober Team puts out from here on. Not quite.
I think they still have something to prove.
Yes.
Because they were using one of the most acclaimed horror games of all time as a starting point. Mm-hmm. So they still kind of they kind of took a small loan of $1 million on that one.
And the story,
they did.
The story is 100% just 1-to-1. They've added dialogue and some cutscenes, but the story is untouched.
Yeah. So They definitely still have something to prove, but they have proven something.
They've proven they can make a good game.
Yeah.
And it just like, especially the stuff I thought for sure they were gonna, like, them specifically would super fuck up. The main thing being the character of Angela. You have not played Silent Hill 2.
I have not.
Angela is a side character that James meets. One of three side characters that are also in Silent Hill during the events of Silent Hill 2. And they're also like the confirmation that the Silent Hill they are seeing is not the Silent Hill that James is seeing. And James is not seeing theirs, which results in one of my favorite fucking scenes in the entire game. And I haven't gotten to it in the remake yet, but I'm very excited to. Angela's deal specifically is something that Bloober Team seemed uniquely qualified to really fuck up really hard. So they didn't, though. And also her voice actress fucking nails it, because she sounds...
Well, then it's not really Silent Hill if it doesn't have terrible voice acting.
So that has been one thing that people have said, and I kind of disagree with that. I think it gives it some character in the original game.
I've never played Silent Hill, so I'm just like repeating the meme.
So like a lot of people talk about like, well, the voice acting in the original Silent Hill 2 is bad on purpose because it's to off-put you, and it's like, no, it's because they walked outside and grabbed the first white guy they saw, and that man was James now. Like, that's why. Guy Seehee is not a fucking actor. He also sucks as a person, but we won't get into that here.
It actually takes a remarkable amount of effort to be like to intentionally do bad acting.
Yeah. Even though one of the voice actors, Angela's original voice actress, I'm pretty sure is fucking Donna Burke. So that might have just been a bad voice direction thing.
Probably. Little column A, little column B.
But the everybody has a new voice in this game, 100%. Angela's voice actress fucking kills it. Because in the original game, Angela sounds weird even among all the fucking weirdos. And like sometimes her intonation doesn't make any fucking sense. And she kind of almost at some point sounds like an alien trying to imitate human speech, but not quite nailing it on the intonation scale. And while James's voice actor did a great job at just, James is fucking tired, and he's kind of an asshole. He's more than kind of an asshole. He is an asshole, but like he's trying not to be an asshole. Mm-hmm. And James's voice actor fucking absolutely nails that. I think he does a great job. Angela still sounds like an alien, but in a really good way, in a way that like, fuck, that gets it like works for the character so well. Exactly. It works for the character so fucking well. The boss fights for this game have been kind of good. One of the criticisms I've seen is that Silent Hill 2 having a combat system where you can like dodge and do combos is weird. And those people played a different game than I did, because yeah, you can dodge and you have a very wide like invincibility range of like time of invincibility for that dodge. Swinging the like melee weapon around doesn't feel like you're playing fucking Devil May Cry. It feels like you're a dude swinging a plank of wood at a monster that scares the shit out of him. Like it just feels, I think it still feels clunky to the point.
I kind of want to play this.
It's quite good. Like it still feels clunky to a point where you still don't. The whole point is that James is not Leon Kennedy. He does not have like formal firearm training and self-defense training. He's just a fucking guy. Mm-hmm. And I think it still feels like that. And especially when you get enemies on the ground, you can stomp them to either finish them off, or you can just stomp their dead corpse. And the fucking visceral sounds that James makes when he does this.
So I do kind of like, with like the combination of this and the Resident Evil 4 remake, and honestly the two remake. I was going to say 2 and 3, but like no, probably not Resident Evil 3 remake. Have kind of been proving that like those clunky controls that feel miserable to play were not an essential part of the horror experience.
So I come at that from a point of view where I don't think tank controls are bad. I know a lot of people really fucking hate tank controls. I 100% understand, but they don't.
I don't think they're bad. There is this rhetoric that people say that, like, for a horror game to be effective, like, you need to have those limited controls. And I don't think that's true. And I think that the Resident Evil remakes and now the Silent Hill 2 remake are kind of proving me right.
So I agree with you, and I think the reason people say that is actually a misinterpretation of what they think is happening. Mm-hmm. The controls being clunky add to the horror because that was the way they had to add to the horror in fucking 2006. Like, that's...
Yeah.
Those were limitations that they used to their advantage, but those limitations don't fucking exist anymore. So you don't need them anymore because you can do scares in other ways. Such as Silent Hill 2, the remake, is the first time in my life I have ever encountered an enemy type that has made me really fucking paranoid. Every time I walk into a goddamn room, I do a full 360, like, where the fuck is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
You do a 360 and you walk away.
And it's in Silent Hill 2, there is an enemy that is a pair of mannequin legs and then another pair of mannequin legs glued to the torso, so that one is being used as legs to walk around and the other are basically like arms. Because everything in Silent Hill 2 is filthy, that's kind of its theme visually, is just everything is disgusting and filthy and gross. And dilapidated and shit like that. And there's some really fucking disgusting imagery in this game. Like, really gross. I will give you fair warning up front if you do play this game. Bugs are a not insignificant part of that.
I think I'm okay with fictional bugs.
Okay. What if there are a lot of them?
I think I'm okay with fictional bugs.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that, like, I really don't do well with in real life. I'm fine with in video games.
But in the original game, this enemy type is still there, and they're fine. But in this game, they hide. And I don't mean like they go find a hiding place. I mean they stand against a wall and they just fucking look like furniture.
Don't like that.
And you don't realize that they're there until they're already attacking you. I've had moments where I will walk into a room and my flashlight will go right over the motherfucker and I still won't see him. I kind of see, I've seen some people criticize that they're kind of overused because they're all over the place in this game. They're in every area. I think they've been incredibly effective. Maybe the most effective horror enemies I've ever experienced in a video game, especially when you get to a certain part of the game and suddenly they're spiders because they're crawling on the fucking walls.
I see.
And it's so fucking, like, it's one of the first times I've had a moment in a horror game where I walk out into a room and you see them just, you turn on these lights because they don't like light, and you see them just skitter up the wall into the darkness, like 5 of them. And it's the first time I've ever genuinely been like, nope, okay, yep, all right, nope, we're done for tonight. It's super good. My main criticism of Silent Hill 2 Remake is that it's too fucking long. It is.
Oh my god.
Way too fucking long.
I can imagine that.
The original Silent Hill is about 10, 11 hours at most. According to my Steam playtime, and I am in the second last area in the game, 16.5 hours. And that is not because I have stopped to smell the roses or because I've gotten stuck on puzzles or something like that.
Video games just have to be 20 hours now.
It's just like they have expanded every single area And they do a lot of really cool shit in those expanded sections.
Wasn't it the Resident Evil 4 remake also roughly that long?
You mean longer than the original, or?
Yeah,
it's
didn't it also go from like 10 to 20 hours?
Yeah, it's longer than the original. I don't know if it was 20 hours, but it was very similar. Nice. Yes, I think. But there's a lot of really, really cool stuff in those expanded areas. But the game is too fucking long. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't finished it yet. Is because it's just every area is now like roughly 2 to 3 times the size it was in the original game. And that is in some ways kind of a fucking problem. But that's the only major complaint I can think of. Game's just really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really happy it's still good, and I'm really happy that Akira Yamaoka is still one of the best sound designers in video games. That man knows what he's fucking doing, and he hasn't lost a step. Holy shit.
I can imagine that.
The sound design in that game is so fucking good. Yeah, Silent Hill 2. It's up there for it is among the top contenders for a game of the year. I know what my game of the year is, and it's not Silent Hill 2, but it's probably somewhere in there in like the top 3.
I'm really glad that this turned out that well.
I've never been more happy to be fucking wrong in my entire life.
This was a major like point of nightmare for you for like 2 years, I think. Was how long we went from that rumor starting up to like the game actually releasing?
I was like dreading this game coming out because I knew even if it came out and people were like, yeah, this fucking blows, I was still going to play it. I was still going to play it to see. I know myself. So the fact that it is actually like fucking fantastic. Thank God. Thank God. Would I recommend it over the original? I think the original does some things better, and I think this version does some things better, and I don't think I could really say either way. I think there are definitely parts of the remake that are done way better. The boss fight with and this will not mean anything to you, but that's fine. The boss fight with the abstract daddy is extremely fucking good.
What?
Might be my favorite fucking... It's a lot more fucked up than you think. It's a funny name out of context, but believe me. It's... That boss fight's so fucking... It's my favorite part of the game so far. Yeah, it's a good-ass video game, and I'm very happy with it. A good Silent Hill game in the year of our Lord 2024. That feels illegal.
It took some time to get there, and there were 2 bad Silent Hill games on the way to it, too.
Within the past 2 years, baby! And who's ready for a third? I'm sure maybe Townfall and If will be good. I don't fucking know. I don't have a lot of hope for them, though.
Yeah, I don't know. This feels like it could end up being a fluke. I hope not, though.
I hope I am going to give them my desire that it is not a fluke and that their next game comes out and it's actually also really good. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, hopefully.
And also, I wouldn't be opposed to them being handed the reins to Silent Hills 1 and 3. You can't just do 3, unfortunately, because 3 is a direct sequel to Silent Hill 1.
Yeah, oh well. Well, I mean, they could do it.
They could, but...
I have seen ill-advised remakes like that before.
Silent Hill 1's story is so, like, 100% required that you know what happened. Otherwise, nothing in Silent Hill 3 makes sense.
They could still just do that, though.
They could, but I would hope that they would do 1 and 3 if they did them. They might, and they could even do none. That's fine, too. And then we can all forget Silent Hill 4 The Room exists, because that game sucks. And I don't need a remake of it.
All right. So, my number 6. Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2, I think, is the best multiplayer experience of the year. And this is so it's kind of live service, but kind of not. It's because it's one of those games where there's battle passes, but they never expire, and you just kind of get them whenever. And
that does seem to be a new practice that's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, well, so Helldivers is the only game that goes this far, where it's like, you like buying the battle pass never expires. It's not just like, if you don't finish it in time, then you can still finish it later. It's like, no. You can just get all the battle passes, whatever. I think Halo Infinite also did that, but no one played Halo Infinite. So, and Helldivers 2 is a PvE game, which I was itching for a good one of those. And it's like really good at being that PvE game. And it's one of those games where it's like kind of the point is that you're struggling against the fact that you never totally feel like you're going to pull off a mission because you're always just dying constantly. And like shit's coming down on you and you're facing massive hordes of enemies at any given time. And that alone would get me to call it a really good game because like it is. Suki's yelling again. I'm just gonna power through it. Y'all gotta hear Suki yelling for attention because otherwise we're gonna be here all night. Okay, Suki, stop. Oh, she stopped. Okay. Oh, she like actually just stopped. Okay. And it's like all that stuff. Like I would still be calling it like it's such a good multiplayer game. It's one of the best games that I played this year. But there's also the lore. And the lore in Helldivers is some of the, like, it incorporates the player base's actions in some of the funniest ways I can imagine. So, Helldivers 2 takes place in the middle of the Galactic War, which until recently was being fought on 2 fronts. Now it's being fought on 3 fronts. Because you've got the bugs, the Terminids, of course, which are the source of element 710. Which, hey, like write out 710 and turn it upside down and see what it says. It's oil. So the bugs are the source of element 710. So we had Super Earth, the government of Super Earth. They had like farms of Terminids to just be harvesting element 710. And then one day, suddenly they all escaped. And I guess these mindless bugs, which we must emphasize, they're totally mindless. Super Earth said so. They have their own, like, spaceships, and they're getting around from planet to planet. So we got to stop them. But then on the other side, there's the bots, the automatons. And they hate democracy, as you know. So, man, I just love watching your face throughout this. I'm so glad we have webcams on.
I knew all this, and it's still...
Well, recently we have the squids, the Illuminate. But anyway, so the lore is facilitated through the major orders. Major orders are objectives that the entire player base is simultaneously contributing to. It's kind of like a weekly quest, but it's not like, okay, you kill this number of these enemies. No, it's like, no, the entire player base needs to collectively capture these 3 planets, or needs to defend this planet, or needs to collectively do whatever. And major orders can fail. And canonically, the failure is written into the story. So we have had major orders that like had story consequences that we just did not manage to pull off. And now there's I forget what the name of it is, but it's like this big cloud that's spread over like an entire solar system over on one side of the galaxy as like a supercluster where where like the Terminids are like becoming more and more populous than ever and way too powerful. So at one point they managed to just completely infest one planet, and the super colony there was like threatening to just become an untenable mess. So we destroyed that planet. We put a black hole in its place. Like, we had a special bespoke mission that only ran for one weekend where we set up the black hole shit, and then we turned that planet into a black hole. And now it's just permanently a black hole there. And so now, much later, we've got the Illuminates showing up. Actually, there was one thing, actually, that I should talk about. The funniest sequence of events was with the anti-tank mines, where we had a... So for a few weeks there, we were getting a new... So the game has stratagems, which are like special weapons that you can call in. And they're like the powerful things that are supposed to like really get you through tough situations. So we were having a new stratagem being teased called the anti-tank mines. So at one point, they were promised to be unlocked upon the success of a particular major order, but we ended up failing that order. So we didn't get the mines. And so that brings us to the major order that was going on in June. High Command has received 2 urgent distress signals from planets that are under attack from the automatons. First is Marfark, where a repository of explosives necessary for the deployment of anti-tank mines has been discovered. If this planet is reclaimed, then we will unlock the stratagem. The second is Vernon Wells, where thousands of civilian survivors are trapped in the remains of Super Citizen Anne's Hospital for very sick children under the siege of the automatons. The major order specifies we only have time to liberate one of these 2 planets.
I did hear about this one while it was happening.
Yep. And the player base decided, fuck the mines. We're going to save those children. Even though it has no in-game consequence at all, aside from us just not getting the mines. And that was actually like kind of a really magical moment there, where it's like everyone, like, we all knew it's like, it's fake, it's a video game, but like everyone was into the role play enough that we like actually decided to focus on saving these children, even though it was written as like this joke, this obvious joke of like, of course we're supposed to choose the mines, but like everyone came together and that became like a major part of Helldivers lore. That is now like an in-game holiday and everything. And that's the kind of thing that like I care a lot about in Helldivers, where it's like it's super super fun to be playing these missions, but because the lore is this ever evolving thing that like actually has a game master in charge of it. It's like we call him Joel. I don't think that's his real name, but it's like someone at the company whose job is to be the game master and guide us through these things, and how like the player base. Like when the Illuminates first showed up as like the big update after the Game Awards and everything, which they're the big third faction. It was a major order to kind of like push back an Illuminate attack that was like clearly set up for us to fail. And the player base ended up just barely beating back the invasion through the skin of our teeth and successfully defending the planets that the Illuminates were attacking. And now this mission that was set up as an unwinnable scenario for us is now canonically part of the lore that we managed to win. And now the story is continuing with the understanding that we won. And it's that kind of thing that feels special, where a situation of a game master for the entire player base to simultaneously roleplay with. It's really cool. And I don't think I've ever seen a video game do it to this extent before.
I can't think of an example at the very least.
Yeah. And that feels so special. Obviously, so much of it is planned out in advance, but like any good roleplay campaign is. Mm-hmm. Any GM that knows what they're doing will secretly have things planned out, no matter which way we can do it. But seeing it on this scale is so cool. And it's just not something that you really see video games doing, because it's such a volatile thing to try to do, to be interacting with the player base so directly and so dynamically. And I love it.
Especially
I think that makes
opens you up to a really bad set of people sometimes. Because that's the gamble.
Oh,
that's the gamble, right? What if the fan base fucking sucks?
Yeah. And I mean, like any fan base, there are good people and there are bad people in it. So I just I love Helldivers too. I go back to play it pretty regularly, and I'm having a great time. And like the Illuminate update is like, oh my god, the Illuminate are such a scary enemy to fight, because they're like their foot soldiers are like zombified citizens that are called the Voteless, and and like the individual Illuminates themselves are so powerful, and it takes place in city maps when you're fighting them, so it's like the tone of it is just so different and so wild, and it's just, this game's so cool. I really, really liked it, and it's been, I think, the best multiplayer experience of the year, hands down. So that's Helldivers 2.
It's been one of those really, really nice stories of like the first Helldivers, from what I understand, did okay, I guess.
Oh yeah, I happened to have played it by total coincidence. I didn't, but it was so, honestly, the whole thing was so under my radar that like I didn't even totally realize that Helldivers 2 existed, even though I played the original. So it's really cool, and it is such a small team compared to how big the game got.
Yeah,
and
sounds terrifying.
I'm so happy with this game, and I hope it keeps being really good.
Anyways, we are actually going to stop here for now. And we
didn't plan to originally, I should note.
Now this is 3 hours.
Because, oh god, looking at the clock, this was not supposed to happen like this. I was hoping we would do this again next year, and now it's like, oh god, physically, can we?
Yeah, so the next R5s will be in a separate part. I don't know what the spacing between them will be. Maybe it'll be a week. Maybe it'll be less. I don't know. It's really up to God at that point. Maybe, and by God, I mean...
Knowing us, it'll be more.
Yes.
I'm going to consider it a win.
I didn't say that.
By the end of if it's out by the end of January, I'm going to consider it a win.
I didn't say it. You did. Anyways, we'll see y'all for that.
It's because I'm real.
Good luck, everybody.
Do we have a better outro than that, or is that just how we do this?
Have you ever known me to have a good outro for fucking anything?
No.
Exactly.